You're listening to the Kim D. Snyder Show, episode number 042. In this episode, you will discover how to inventory your access and your assets.
Welcome to the Kim D. Snyder Podcast.
Welcome. I'm your host, Kim. This show is for personal and professional development for business leaders. And let's get this party started. And it is about inventorying your access and your assets. It's a perfect time. It is year end. And make sure you have access to everything that you need to run your business and your organization. Here are some items to consider. Software access. Make sure you have access to your software and make sure you have admin access. And if you have to give other people access, then consider using a password software so that if they leave, then you can go ahead and just have one place to change all the passwords. This is really helpful if you have contractors coming in and out or multiple people. That way you're not giving your passwords to the admin component of all of your sites. Make sure your website, you have access. So wherever your website is hosted, make sure you have admin access to not only the back end, I guess, the hosting, but the front end, the actual website. I cannot believe the number of business owners that I run into that still do not have access to this, or it's difficult to find. So you want to make sure that if you have access, I would put all of this information into one location. Make sure you have access to your ad accounts, whether you're running it for Facebook or Amazon or YouTube, any type of advertising platforms. Make sure you have access. In fact, make sure you own it. I ran into a situation where a contractor or a company had set up Facebook ads in their account before they even had a chance to transfer it over to the business owner. And then they had to transfer it over like 3 months later. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. And so make sure you have access to whatever your advertising platforms are. Make sure you not only have access, but own your domains. I don't see this as much anymore, but it's sort of related to the websites. You know, when companies used to set up your websites, they used to purchase the domain for you. So if that's the case, work on getting access now because it's better than if you need it later and then you're kind of held under the gun. One of the other important areas in here is own your data. Have access to your data. So whatever you have in your systems, or if you're getting ready to move systems or get off a certain platform, make sure you have data extracts and you have the backup of the data. If you're hiring somebody, make sure you don't cut off existing systems thinking that you won't need them anymore. Make sure you figure out what you need and don't get rid of it. And so this is really that access. Make sure you have your data. And make sure that you have access to it and it's backed up on a regular basis. Own your links. Use this instead of Bitly or something else. This is minor, but you should be able to point everything to your website because you want to track your activity. So if it's posts and pages and event, you want to make sure you can see who's accessing that information because you need to track the number of hits. Social media accounts. Make sure you have access to your social media accounts and the proper access. So you should be admin and or owner, depending on the platform. The folks that are working for you don't need that access. You can give them either, content manager or writing rights, or you can give them access to advertising in a different way. You don't have to give them admin rights to do that. If you don't know how to do it, either Google it or get on a Zoom or some sort of platform with them and have them walk you through that, and you can do that. Ensure that you have backups or an access to your backups. Again, don't dump them in some files or some drive that you haven't accessed in a while. Make sure you can access them. Your email list. Ensure that you have access to your email list. It's current. And this is also to your customers. Make sure you can get to your customer list and it's current and you can download it and have it as a backup. And then the last thing is, this is also a great time of year to inventory the items that you're not using. It's the old term of quote unquote shelfware. You bought it, it's sitting there and you're not using it. So not only when you go through and clean up your stuff and inventory, but look at the things you're not using and maybe it's time to stop that service or reduce the the plan because you're not using it as much as you can. So I would like to hear what other examples you've seen. For the show notes for this episode, go to kimdsnyder.com/042. See you in the next episode.